a reason why Dr. Paula is one of our experts. Hey, we're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we have
Family
law show.
Yes.
With attorney Tina Lord. We just made her a doctor. Hey, we'll be right
Honorary.
back. Hey, thanks for coming in today.
You.
Thank you, Rene and Steve. And thank you, audience.
Dr. Paula Liebeskin is proud to introduce A. Bell Audiology and Hearing Center in Pembroke Pines. Here at the A. Bell Center, we are dedicated to providing you with a truly customized and successful hearing health experience. Success to us means you leave happy, healthy, and hearing the world around you. The A. Bell Center specializes in hearing loss, tinnitus, and tinnitus treatments, hearing aids, oral rehabilitation, and balance disorders. A. Bell Audiology offers professional and research-based services to individuals living with hearing loss, ringing in the ears, or balance disorders. Abel's audiologic and tinnitus evaluations and balance tests are performed exclusively by Dr. Paula Liebeskin, a leading expert. Contact Abel Audiology and Hearing Center today, as there has never been a better time to enjoy better hearing than now. Abel Audiology and Hearing Center is located at 2301 North University Drive, Suite 110, Pembroke Pines, Florida. Call them at 954-435-9779 or visit their website at www.abelaudio.com. That's A-B-E-L audio.com. Lewert Law. At the law firm of Belu and Belu, we can help you if you are facing foreclosure. Don't lose your home due to foreclosures by the bank or mortgage company. Call the law offices of Belu and Belu at 954-596-0669. You have rights and we can help you exercise them. At Belu and Belu, your first consultation is always free. If your home is underwater or you are behind on your mortgage and you're confused about what to do, we can help. Call our office today, 954-596-0669 or 1-877-BELU-LAW. That's 1-877-BILU-LAW. At Belu and Belu, our lawyers have more than 20 years combined experience in real estate law. The banks have lawyers, and so should you. The lawyers at Belu and Belu can help you modify your loan or apply for a short sale while they defend your case in court. Contact the lawyers at Belu and Belu today so you can sleep easy tonight. Your home is your castle. Trust the professionals at Belu and Belu to defend it for you. The law office of Belu and Belu handles foreclosure defense in Broward and Palm Beach and all 67 Florida counties. Call the law offices of Belu and Belu today at 954-596-0669 or visit us on the web at belulaw.com. That's BILULAW.com.
And we're back. And we have an echo.
God, we have a major echo. Anyhow, we're back. This is our last 30 minutes show with Ask the Experts till next Monday. I love doing this show because when you have certain guests on, of course, that are experts, that you don't have to coach at all. They've got such passion. And we have
knowledge about their practice and what they do.
Exactly. So we have our monthly foreclosure defense loan modification show on with Gil Belu of Belu and Belu. Hey, Gil.
Welcome to the show. And first of all, I want to tell everybody, if you'd like to watch today's show live, go to Belu and Belu's website at www.belu, that's BILU, law.com.
Absolutely. You can see the face behind the voice, but I have a face for radio.
It's a nice looking face.
Oh, thank you.
And then we're going to rerun today's show. You can always go to Belu and watch the show. We're also going to rerun the show on February the 9th.
In case you miss anything.
4 o'clock. Absolutely.
Or if you miss something, you can always call. If you have a question for Gil, you call the station at 888-565-1470. You can ask him a question yourself.
I'd love to answer it, and I'll make anybody a special offer. If you listen to today's show and take notes, I'll give you a pop quiz when you come in for a consultation. And if you get at least a 75%, I will take a discount off of your retainer.
Wow. You know what's amazing? I haven't even told Gil
They need
this.
to take notes.
We have 16 shows, and when you mention Bilu and Bilu, people know who you are. Other law firms that aren't even in this,
Realtors that we just discussed.
realtors.
Absolutely.
Which is
guys-
hysterical. You've made a name for yourself.
We try. We've been in the industry for a while. Just to give you a little way of background, up until the mortgage foreclosure crisis, I was a title agent. And actually, it's funny because it's really what I want to touch on today on the show is some of the title aspect. So, I used to handle closings. I still do handle closings. I love handling closings. And if you're buying, selling, come talk to us. This is what we do. We came into litigation after having a practice built up in title. A lot of other foreclosure defense attorneys out there, definitely the good ones, came from a trial background, really don't know much about title to property. And now that we're 7 years into this crisis, and I don't want to say it's winding down, but it's not at the height that it was before. Now's when those tricky title issues come up. And I think on the last show, I touched on this case that came out of the 3rd DCA in Miami. It's the 3rd District Court of Appeals. I don't remember which bank was involved, but we've been just calling it the Bouvet case in the industry. That was the name of the defendant. So basically what had happened in that case, kind of a sad story for the homeowner. It didn't work out that well for them in that they were being sued for foreclosure by their bank. They stopped paying the maintenance on their condo. Condo association takes over the property, right? They file their own foreclosure suit. There's a sale. The association takes title to the property. Now, we're not talking some dinky little condo. We're talking a $1 million plus condo in Miami.
What time period is this over, though?
I believe
That it first started?
I believe the association took title probably in 2013. Well, what wound up happening was the association takes over title to the property. Our defendants in the lawsuit for the bank's foreclosure and say, well, we're going to defend this case as well as we can. They defend the case, and the case is dismissed at trial. It's an involuntary dismissal, which means there was a trial, and the defendants won.
What are the defendants won? Because you have to explain what a dismissal is.
So basically, when we do because they don't go in front of a jury, it's what's called a bench trial. When we do a foreclosure trial, and it's going to end one of two ways, either with a judgment for the plaintiff. If the plaintiff doesn't win, that means the defendant has to win. You typically do not get a judgment unless there are some outstanding issues that really are much too complicated for the show, and really are so case specific that it's just not worthwhile talking about to a large audience.
So a dismissal means that they get to keep their condo.
Well, this is where we get to the interesting part. So a dismissal means that the bank didn't prove its case, right? So at the end of a trial, after the bank rests, so after we've cross-examined their witnesses, hopefully we've proved the points that we want to prove. As defense attorneys, we ask the court for an involuntary dismissal, and hopefully the court will grant it. So that means the case is over and the homeowner won. Now, what's the one question you've asked me, my client asked me, what happens when we win? And I'll tell you the truth. First time I won a trial, first foreclosure trial I won, I actually called another foreclosure defense attorney and said, okay, what comes now?
Right.
What happens?
So
I
what
don't
comes
know.
now?
So what comes now? So this has been a matter of great debate, and there have been some appellate decisions out of certain circuits in Florida, the 4th and the 5th, and I think the 2nd, that have said, well, because a mortgage, and we've talked about this before, because a mortgage has a monthly payment that's due every month, there can be a new default, and the bank can foreclose again, right? They may have lost the trial up until you missed your payments on August 1st, 2008, but August 5th, September 1st, 2013, after they lost the trial, they can try again.
So this is a continual process. So maybe dismiss once and then continue.
Maybe. And this is where it gets interesting, because we have two things in Florida that really get into this, and this is where we get into the title aspect of it, right? We have the statute of limitations. Statute of limitations says, look, if you're going to bring a lawsuit against somebody, depending on what that lawsuit's based on, you have a certain amount of time that you have to bring the case, or you waive your claim. Your claim is over. You got nothing. If you wait 15 years after somebody didn't pay you, you've waited too long and the court's not going to accept the case anymore. It keeps things moving. The statute of limitations for a mortgage foreclosure happens to be 5 years. But when does the 5 years start? Well, that's when we get into another concept called the statute of repose. We want people to be able to sell their property. So what happens if you gave somebody a mortgage, right? And the person that you gave the mortgage to your property to, you own the property, you took out a private mortgage, let's say. The person disappears, goes to Antigua and never comes back. Well, you want to be able to sell the property. There's nobody to pay off. Let's say it was a 20-year mortgage, and it's been 25 years since you've made it, since the mortgage since you signed the mortgage and since it was recorded. And now you want to sell your property. You have nobody to pay off. Let's say you've paid off the loan, but you've got nobody to get a satisfaction of judgment from, a satisfaction of mortgage from, so you have trouble selling your property. Well, that's why we have the statute of repose that basically says, look, if the mortgage is over on its own terms, right? If the mortgage is completely over, and 5 years have passed since the end date, we as the courts are going to assume that it's been paid off and nobody brought it, so we're going to put in that statute of limitations. We're going to use it with the statute of repose. Nothing, the mortgage isn't there anymore. Well, a lot of attorneys argued from the beginning of this foreclosure crisis that 5-year statute of limitations on a mortgage also applies to being able to file a suit. Well, these other courts came in and said, no, you have these monthly obligations, blah, blah, blah. It's not exactly right, because what is the first thing that has to happen when you're foreclosed on? The bank does what's called acceleration. They accelerate your debt. Yep. So you owed $498,000 in principal. You've got to pay that $498,000. They say, look, we're calling the whole thing due, plus all the interest you didn't pay. We're calling it all due now. Instead of having you pay out this $498 over 30 years, it's due today, right? Well, what happens if you win the case? Now, the bank's already accelerated. The bank's already said you owe all this money. So now they've said, this is the final payment that's due. This is everything that's due. 5 years have now gone from that point. You hired a great foreclosure defense firm like
Blue.
There you go. By the way, that's 954-596-0669.
I love it.
If you want to call for a free consultation. Now you've won the case. Right? Now you've won the case. Now, what the court in Miami essentially came back and said is, look, the only way to get rid of that acceleration is to reinstate the loan. If you're going to reinstate the loan, that's great. You've paid your money, you got yourself caught up, we're fine. If you don't reinstate the loan, that acceleration balance held open. Well, what the court basically said was, look, if 5 years have gone by from that acceleration and you didn't win your case, the bank has now lost the right to bring that foreclosure action.
Wow.
That's great, though.
The mortgage is still on the books. It's still a lien on your property. Right. You still will have to pay off that mortgage if you want to sell it.
But you could live there.
But you could live there. You could rent it out. Now, this is by no means decided. This is, I guarantee you, this will be going up to the Florida Supreme Court. But this has huge, huge implications. I'll tell you, just last year alone, I got dismissals on, I think, 5 or 6 2009 cases. So those cases are now well past that 5-year statute of limitations. What this means for my clients, what I'm saying is, look,
so they basically could take that property and rent it out forever.
Rent it out forever. They could live in it
forever, free and clear.
No, it's not free and
that's
clear.
what I was
The mortgage is still on the property.
So you still have to pay your monthly mortgage.
No.
So then what?
The bank can't foreclose, but they still have a lien on your property. So if you go to sell it, you have to pay them off.
For selling purposes, yes, I understand that.
Right.
But you could live there and not pay a monthly amount. So you're living there free.
But you do have to pay the association.
You got to pay the association because you can lose it like these poor Bouvets did, right? And if they would have stayed in, they would have had this $1 million condo. It might have been a mortgage on it, but they can make a lot of money renting it out.
But isn't there a case study now to look at that you can go back and pull case study?
Well, here's the thing. There's a conflict now between the circuits in Florida. And I've read this Bouvet decision, and I will tell you that I'm a pretty smart guy, right? I'm a very smart guy. Let's even go that far. Well, that opinion was 26 pages long, and I will tell you that I had to read it 3 times to fully grasp it. It is not an easy read. It's not something that a layman could easily understand. But when you look at the court's reasoning, as opposed to the court's reasoning in the other cases that have upheld this nonsense about there being this monthly obligation and mortgages being special, this actually makes a lot more sense. And I'm not just saying that because it supports my position. I'm saying it as a student of the law, knowing the way the law operates and knowing, the factual basis, the legal bases behind these opinions. It makes much more sense what the third DCA has ruled, and it's going to be a huge thorn in the side of banks.
Well, the thing is, the banks are not going to collect until somebody moves out of the property or stops renting.
So
when they go to sell the property, so
right. Or what happens if you hold on to that property long past the end of that mortgage? So you have a 30-year mortgage, right? You took it in 2001. It's now 2036, so we're at the end of the 30 year. We're 5 years past the 30-year mortgage. The bank doesn't have the right to foreclose, and the mortgage is now expired by its own terms.
That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable, right? And this is like crazy. This is something that nobody's ever seen before.
So people get those houses free and clear.
Oh, that's what we're saying. What we need to see is what the Florida Supreme Court's going to say about it. But again, looking at the legal reasoning, it really makes a lot more sense the way the third DCA in Miami ruled rather than the way some of these other courts have ruled. They ruled on other things that really are, I'm sure, will keep law students up at night, but for the rest of us,
this is why
I
should have hired Gil with my house.
Oh,
I would be living in my house free and clear.
Exactly. No, you would be.
Yes, I would have been.
All right.
You know what? This is what I've learned because Gil's with us every month. What I've learned is, first of all, you do not want to do this yourself.
No. Absolutely not.
You got to open the envelopes.
Right.
You don't want to keep them sealed because then you're going to be in real trouble.
And respond right away.
Right.
Because you did mention that last time you were on the show that do not wait.
Don't wait. And
to
I'll
respond.
tell you, we've been running under these kind of ad hoc systems, especially in Broward County and Palm Beach County, which is where I do the majority of my litigation, where we've gotten extra funding from the state or the courts, I should say, have gotten extra funding from the states to help clear the backlog. They're bringing in senior judges, and they have extra money for case managers. Well, that funding runs out in June. And what we've been told in Broward County right now is that we're going to get dispersed back amongst the general population of judges, that there's no longer going to be a special division only for residential foreclosures.
And why is that?
There's no money for it.
Oh, we're going to break.
Yep.
Now we
That
are
was a
going
surprise
to
break.
So let me throw in the number again is 954-596-0669. You can also check us out on the web, www.bilulaw.com. That's BILULAW.com. And you can always follow me on Twitter, although I've been remiss in posting lately, at GBilu.
Good. We'll be right back.
At the law firm of Bilu and Bilu, we can help you if you are facing foreclosure. Don't lose your home to the foreclosures by the bank or mortgage company. Call the law offices of Bilu and Bilu at 954-596-0669. You have rights and we can help you exercise them. At Bilu and Bilu, your first consultation is always free. If your home is underwater or you are behind on your mortgage and you're confused about what to do, we can help. Call our office today, 954-596-0669 or 1-877-BILU-LAW. That's 1-877-BILU-LAW. At Bilu and Bilu, our lawyers have more than 20 years combined experience in real estate law. The banks have lawyers, and so should you. The lawyers at Bilu and Bilu can help you modify your loan or apply for a short sale while they defend your case in court. Contact the lawyers at Bilu and Bilu today so you can sleep easy tonight. Your home is your castle. Trust the professionals at Bilu and Bilu to defend it for you. The law office of Bilu and Bilu handles foreclosure defense in Broward and Palm Beach and all 67 Florida counties. Call the law offices of Bilu and Bilu today at 954-596-0669 or visit us on the web at bilulaw.com. That's BILULAW.com.
And we're back. You know, this is something that's so important that if you're going to be going through a foreclosure, God forbid, there's a lot of attorneys out there. I can say this, Gil. Gil's not going to say this. That say they handle foreclosure. But they also do criminal law, family law, bankruptcy law, immigration law. Listen, you're dealing with your home. And if you're going to do this, first of all, Gil is not just doesn't just do foreclosure loan modification. He is an incredible litigator. You've got to be ready to go all the way.
And you do real estate law as well, because you were just discussing that with us prior to the show.
But don't you know, but when you start doing this, you got to be ready to go all the way.
Yeah. It was funny. I was talking to my partner was at a continuing legal education class, and it was a foreclosure focused. It was a panel of judges that were talking. One of the judges says, I'm not going to name names, and it just says, is the mantra of foreclosure defense attorneys delay, 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 delay. And he said all the foreclosure defense attorneys took real offense to that. And look, I'm not going to say there aren't ones that delay, and I'm not going to say that we don't play out time. Look, we know the time is to our client's advantage, but on the same token, I'm not there to waste time. I'm there for a good fight. And I'm there, I explained this to a client the other day. I said, look, if I didn't think we could win this, I would tell you not to take it to trial.
He's the bulldog of foreclosure defense.
We try. I don't give up. Once I get my teeth sunk in, man, I'm all over it. Because, look, who doesn't like winning, right? And I'll tell you, we had one. I think I told you about this in December. One I got an involuntary. I got a case dismissed in the beginning of December, and I call my client, and I tell her the good news, and she goes, "Oh my, you have no idea how good the news you just gave me is." I'm like, "Well, I do. I mean, I just won this trial, though. This case has been going on for like 3 years. Like, I'm pretty sure I know how good of a feeling it is." She's like, "You don't understand. I lost my job yesterday."
Wow.
Right. So imagine that you lose your job. The next day, you're going to trial. You might be losing your house. You might be told you got to get out as soon as 35 days.
This was a godsend. It really was.
It was, she goes, "It's the best Hanukkah present you could give me." It was right before Hanukkah started.
That's wonderful.
This is what we do. But, we're not just focused on the trial. We're focused on really helping our clients. Whatever the resolution is that they're looking for, that's what we're there for. So, look, I've had clients say, "Look, let's just fight this thing out. Let's see what we can do." At the end of the day, if I've got to move, I got to move. I have other clients that desperately want or need to save their homes, right? And we will help them. We, as you said, we do loan modifications.
What is this Obama this Obama plan that will keep you in your home? Is that real?
I think that came and went.
Well, no. Everybody, here's the thing. Advertising is a scary thing. And I know, we all got smartphones. We're all playing words with friends. And it's when we know our friends are in the toilet and whatnot. But you always get that ad. Obama says,
Yes.
Obama reduces this. Obama. He's president. We're in a democracy. He doesn't have that kind of power. Nobody
he thinks he does.
Nah, it's all, I'm not going to get into that with you. Right? He doesn't have that type of power. Congress doesn't have that type of power. But what happened? The government working together in they hide that it was bipartisan, but it was pretty much bipartisan, came in and said, okay, we're going to work with the banks to make sure that we properly incentivize them to help struggling homeowners. What do we mean by properly incentivize them? Give them money, right? And so it's not that the president or Congress came in and said, we're slashing mortgage rates. They can't. They don't have the right to do that.
But there was a lot of criteria to even getting
There
that.
still are a lot of criteria. But what they did was they freed up some money for the banks to say, look, if you wipe this much money off somebody's mortgage, we'll, give you this. And we won't prosecute you for that. It's part of settlement agreements and things like that. So, no, those programs are still active. It's the HAMP program, the Home Affordability Modification Program. And one great thing is that under the current federal rules, the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is headed by Elizabeth Warren, some of the regulations they rolled out that have been adopted by Congress really help homeowners that are trying to save their homes. Because if you are a homeowner and you've submitted a HAMP application for a loan modification or a half application for a short sale, part of what these regulations now say is that if you're within 37 days of sale, it has to be canceled. And also the bank cannot take a step forward to try to obtain a judgment. And we've actually made some pretty successful arguments in court lately using the rules under the United States Code to tell the court, look, Your Honor, if you allow this trial to go forward, we're asking the judge to continue a trial. So if you allow this trial to go forward, you will be forcing the bank's witness and the bank, by extension, to violate federal law. The federal law says you can't move for a judgment. Well, if we're going to a trial, obviously the bank's trying to get a judgment. They can't not go to the trial if the court, if the court says this is your trial date, you don't show up, you lose.
But what happens if you're upside down? Because a lot of people are upside down because the market was so, people bought their homes for so much and then the market took a dump. So what happens with the loan modifications? Because I know a lot of people are upside down
Right.
in their loans. Can you actually file for a loan modification if you're upside down?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
because
you
I
can
know people that
even-
have tried, and through Obamacare, not Obamacare, that's the health insurance, but through Obama's plan,
Right.
and have not. That's why I was saying that there's a lot of criteria to that.
Well, there's always a lot of criteria. It's always going to be up to the bank or the investor that's got it what they're going to approve. But we see a lot less of it now because real estate is on an upswing, right? The house prices are going up. Real estate values are going up. So there's a lot less incentives right now.
Right, but not to the extent that they were.
Not to well, it went up, it dropped a little bit. It's still going up. It's still a year-over-year rise. But what we're seeing is that you can get some of your principal waived, right? The banks will come in and say, okay, we're going to modify the loan, or we're going to wipe off this much principal. That does still happen. Does it happen as frequently as it was 3 or 4 years ago? No. But really, if you're trying to modify your loan and you're trying to save your home, right? You live there, or it's an investment property that's producing positive cash flow for you, it doesn't really matter as much to get that balance waived. Why? Look, you borrowed the money, right? Now the question is, are you going to keep the asset? It's, everybody says, it's an upside down asset. It's an upside down asset. Do you own a car? Because if you own your car, you've got another upside down asset
Right,
if you
that's
financed
true.
it. But you need your car to get around. You like your car. Your car gets you places. If you're going to live in a house for 30 years and you're not planning on moving, and you're upside down, you bought at the height of the market, and you've got a mortgage that's way higher, I don't know about way higher, but a mortgage that's higher or equal to the value of your home, paying your mortgage is going to be cheaper than renting. You have the positive credit consequences. You don't have the negative credit consequences that come from not paying, right? Or if you're getting back on track, you're able to keep your house. You're able to rebuild good credit. There's still reasons to keep a house if it's underwater. Just because the bank doesn't waive the principal, the way the bank looks at it, I'm not a big bank defender, and y'all know that, right? But the way the bank looks at it is, look, we're not your partners, right? If your house, instead of dropping by 50% in value, went up 100% in value, and you sold the house, did you pay the bank more than you owe them? No. So, we didn't make the investment with you. We're not your partner. We're your lender. And I can appreciate that position. And this is how I'm able to work with the banks. Because I understand where they're coming from, and that's because I've done so much work in lending, both commercial and residential lending. I've done a whole lot of both of those. And I worked very closely with bankers, and look, I understand where they're coming from. I mean, look, this is all about business. When it made financial sense for the banks to say, you know what, we'll wipe out $200,000 of what you owe us as long as you keep paying us, that made sense for them at the time. When it didn't make sense, they said, all right, look, we'll lower your payment. We'll lower your interest rate. We'll extend the term of the loan, whatever it is that we need to do to keep you paying. But you know what? By the time you pay off this loan, your house is going to be worth a lot more. And so we're going to decline to shave any principal off. And while it might not make you happy, I can certainly understand the fairness behind it.
Tell people, we only have a few minutes, why they should not try to do this themselves.
All right, I'm going to make this story really quick. I decided one time I was going to try to fix my toilet myself. It was no problem. I went to go change the little ball. No big deal, right? But then I wound up breaking the overflow pipe, which means I've now got to take the tank off and replace the whole valve unit there. Well, my friend convinced me that I could do it, just like your friend convinced you that you could defend your own foreclosure.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm going to give you the upshot of that story. I had to buy a new toilet and pay somebody to put it in. All right, that's
a
why.
good
I'm a
analogy.
professional. I went to school for this.
Right.
This is what I do day in and day out. If you've got a problem that you need resolved, bring it to somebody that deals with that. Don't go and do it on your own. I don't change the oil in my car. I bring it to my mechanic. Well, my mechanic, if he's in foreclosure, doesn't try to defend his own case. He brings it to me. 954-596-0669. Call us. We set up free consultations. If you are not local, you're homebound, whatever the situation is, we can do a consultation over the phone. We can handle anything by email. I'll tell you what, I have a lot of clients that I've never actually met in person. Correspond with them on email. I have clients in the islands. I have clients in here that are down here that are homebound or just are too far away. That we've spoken on the phone, we get the email together, we work together very nicely. We will, whatever your situation is.
Snowbirds that go back and forth, yes.
Definitely. It's a beautiful thing about technology. There's a lot we can do nowadays, but I need to warn everybody out there. These cases are speeding along faster than they were. The plaintiff's attorneys, in response to us getting better as defense attorneys, are getting better as plaintiff's attorneys. Really means that you need to be on the ball. Especially with the closing of these foreclosure divisions. We're now back in the half of the courthouse where I like to say the rules of civil procedure apply. We no longer have special things that we can do, and that's benefited both us and it has benefited the banks. I'm not going to say that it hasn't worked out well for both of us, but now that we're back in front of the same judge who's hearing personal injury cases and contract disputes and all this, shipping disputes and all this other stuff, well, we've now got a higher bar that's been set for us. So give us a call, 954-596-0669. Check us out on the web, www.bilulaw.com. That's B-I-L-U law.com. Or follow me on Twitter, @GBilu. I promise if you start following me, I'll put better stuff up.
Yeah.
I swear.
Perfect.
Gil's with us every month. We'll be back again. His show's going to be on again on the 9th this month.
And we'll be back on Monday at 4 o'clock.
Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Without you, there is no us. Peace and love.
We're out.
And if you can remember the name of the case that I talked about today, I'll give you a discount on the retainer.
I love it.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show with Steve O and Rene. Tune in every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. while some of the top local experts in their field from Broward and Palm Beach counties educate you in the areas of law, health, financial, and home improvement. You can also call our offices at 888-574-6999 to become an expert on our show. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and